Have you ever played the concentration hand clap game as a kid? Maybe you never heard of it. It goes concentration, concentration is the game. Keep the rhythm of the game. I love that hand clap game because it's such a direct correlation to a law of rhythm. But before I get to correlating and all of that, let me explain to you what the law of rhythm is. The law of rhythm states that everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. Everything in the universe is subject to a rhythm of a cyclical repetition pattern of events, that nothing in this world is static or unchanging. Everything is in a constant state of motion and change. Everything is constantly moving, and we know that everything is constantly vibrating from the law of vibration. But we can see the law of rhythm in the natural cycles. When we observe nature, for example, just look at when day changes into night, or the waxing and the waning of the moon, or the changes of the seasons, or the changes of our own internal seasons of when we're born and when we get older and when we die. The human breath, when we inhale and our we expand, and we exhale and our lungs contract. It's very much so a rhythm, and it's all connected. Life itself is a dance. The entire universe operates from a harmonic scale of music. The question is, what kind of dance are you dancing? Is it a 1-2 step? Is it a tango? Is it a waltz? Or is it a break dance with a B-girl stance? Hey, whatever kind of rhythm that you are dancing to, make sure that you dance to the beat of your own drum. Now, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am not a religious person, but I've studied all religions, and I love being able to decode the esoteric knowledge of the Bible, because the Bible is a whole book about you. It really is a manual of the mind. And the law of rhythm and all of the Hermetic principles are in the Bible for that matter. But in Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, it says, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. Know that you are matter and you matter." That's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm going to give you another example of the law of rhythm. And if you want to experience the law of rhythm, I highly encourage you to grow something. So this past summer, I started a garden, and I have watermelon, bell peppers, pineapple, eggplant, and a couple other things in my garden. But I started out growing watermelon just as a seed. And every day I was going out there watering my watermelon plant, watching it sprout, watching it grow a vine. And finally, that watermelon vine got a fruit on it. But for like weeks and weeks and weeks, it just stayed the same size. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, when is it going to finally get bigger? When is it going to grow? It's been over the time that I Googled and said the watermelon should be growing. Like, what's happening? And then I go to bed one night and boom, I wake up, and all of a sudden the watermelon is 4 times bigger than what it was the night before. And so it reminds me of Mark 4:26-27. He also said, "This is what the kingdom of God in the heaven in your mind is like. A man scatters seeds on the ground night and day, whether he sleeps or gets up. The seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how." You don't know how it happened, the day or the second or the hour when your Christ consciousness returns, because the creator is on its own timeline, and it's on its own rhythm. And you have no idea when it's going to happen. It's going to happen like a thief in the night. A stolen time. All of a sudden it stole all the time that it would have taken for that watermelon to get 4 times larger in size in one night. That sounds like a thief in the night to me. So our job is really just to scatter the seeds, and scatter means to circulate. Circulate means rhythm. So we have to trust in the darkness of the soil of the super consciousness. And a lot of times it's like, people we don't trust. We act like we can control everything and we do everything. We don't trust in the creator, or whatever you call the creator, God. I call the creator the universal creator, most high, super consciousness. But we don't trust. And sometimes maybe you feel like, well, I don't have trust issues, sis. Like, that ain't me. I just don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to be disappointed. Okay, I see. You don't want to be disappointed in what? Oh, I don't want to be disappointed that they weren't the person that I thought I was, or the outcome isn't the way that I wanted it to be, or it's not how I imagined it. It's not my ideal. So that's still a form of control, which is ultimately a lack of trust. And if you have control or trust issues, I'm going to walk you through an exercise that my beloved Queen Esther Fairy Godmother did on our moon class. I want you to hold your breath. I want you to hold your breath for as long as you can. And I want you to keep holding your breath. Keep holding it. And when you can't hold it anymore, keep holding your breath. At some point, you're going to have to let go. You're going to have to exhale. And in the words of Queen Esther, beloved, you don't even control your own breath. What makes you think you can control anything else? We don't control our own heartbeat. We don't control the blood that pumps through our veins like the ocean, river, and rains. We don't control, but we're at the control room, hopefully filtering and receiving the input and giving ourselves the right things. But a lot of times these days, people, they don't even want to do that. They want an easy fix. They want someone else to provide the solution for them. They want someone else's words to make them feel better and to heal them. Please just tell me, please pray for me, whatever. But like, someone else's words can't heal you. Depending on someone else's beat, someone else's rhythm, someone else's action, is that's not how the universe works. You know, and oftentimes we want the experience and the evidence of it before we actually get the thing. Like, I'm not giving you no more signs. I think that's another, I ain't giving y'all nothing else. Like, you are the sign, you are the experience. In order for you to experience it, you have to go through it. And if you're listening to other people, no one understand this, that people operate from their own optic view, their own limitations, and their own lens filtering. And if they give you something, then they're only seeing it from their perspective. And oftentimes people will unintentionally or unintentionally give you the wrong advice because they can't see it happening for themselves. So why would they see it happening for you? So you have to make sure that somebody else doesn't throw you off of your own rhythm. And we can't rely on other people. It's just like, you have to make sure that your battery is operating. Here's another analogy, like a car. Like, you know, if you have a car battery, sometimes people need jumps, right? You get the jumper cables and somebody else gives you a jump. Well, when it comes to the laws of the universe, somebody else can't buck your own current. You have to develop a sync rhythm within yourself. And the reason is because everything comes through us, not to us. Every single thought that we have carries a vibrational charge. And as that vibrational charge builds up, that energy carries a momentum, and that momentum permeates throughout our entire body. And our thinking habit is the momentum. And it's important that we understand what kind of habits we have when it comes to thinking. Because if we are operating at 125 miles per hour, we cannot stop a freight train. So have you gone down the path way too far within the rhythm that it's going fast, but it's going fast in your oppressive thoughts. It's going fast in the sunken place. It's going fast out of control. How do you stop? How do you slow down? How do you begin to flow? How do you tap in and tune in and turn on? It's in the concentration game of life's rhythm. Is about momentum. our ability to maintain a consistent frequency and harmonious rhythm. And how do you do that? You got to practice. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Yes, in the words of Allen Iverson, you got to practice what you practice. And think about it. Working out makes you feel weak and your muscles hurt, but you're actually getting stronger. Asking questions and being inquisitive sometimes makes you feel like you're not intelligent, but it's actually making you stronger. Facing your fears is extremely terrifying, but it gives you courage and it makes you braver. We got to stop worrying about how it's going to grow in the darkness of the life lows of the soils of life. We are going to grow. We are in constant motion. Consciousness is always seeking to expand and improve upon itself. Just look at you compared to your mom, your grandmother, your great grandmother, your great great grandmother, your great 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 great. How many greats are you? You are an improvement on the design. We are in constant expansion and contraction and evolution. That's what the universe is all about. That's what it's all about. Okie pokey. Since we on childhood themes and analogies today. But it is pure, expanding consciousness, pure energy. You are an atom that is constantly vibrating. Our job is concentration to keep the rhythm. All things rise and fall. Everything has its cycle and its season. Life, death, rebirth, infinity, forever. It's always going to be doing that. So let's just learn how to relax, release, and let go and stay in the flow and be tapped in, tuned in, and turned on to our own frequency and our own rhythm. To rely on infinite intelligence and the ebbs and the lows to carry us out of life. Because the ebbs propel the flow. I'm going to say that again. The ebb propels the flow. It clears space for the influx. The ebb makes the way. And if you're like, oh, I'm in such a low in my life, I don't know. It's just, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of it. Let me ask you this. Is this the first time you've been through this situation in your life? Or a type of situation that feels like a low in your life? Have you gotten out of it? Somehow, some way, something happened and it turned out okay. And it somehow ended up working for you, for your good. And if you don't believe that, if you don't believe in that magic, if you don't believe in magic every day, I want you to go outside and look in how the law of rhythm and how it shows up in the trees, how it shows up in the insects, and how it shows up in the birds, how it shows up in the clouds and the sky and the sun or the moon. And a lot of us, we don't even want to do that. We just want to sit there and chill. We just want to wade in the water. I don't want to ride the wave. I just want to wade. I just want to float. But some of us don't even want to float. We're scared to jump in. We're scared to jump in because we want to wait until the time is right. We want to plan. We don't have everything in order. And you're doing all that and you're never going to jump in. You'll never start if you never start. And I don't have everything I need. Oh, I get it. We all started from zero. We all started from 0 sales, 0 orders, 0 support, nothingness. We all came out of pure nothingness. We just have to start. Sometimes we got to trust fall with the universe and be like, God got me. I'm just doing it. Because the thought of the act oftentimes is more terrifying than the act within itself. Like, have you ever did something and you're like, oh my gosh, that wasn't even that bad. Like I was making it all more than out to be than what it really was. When we're in an ebb in life and it sucks. It really does. Like it can sometimes feel like an eternal purgatory. Like nobody likes being in the desert. What is that dry bones story about how you breathe life into that Job situation? Like, or maybe you're not in a desert. Maybe you've just been in a situation in life where you are in some deep shit. You got smacked in the face with some shit. But guess what? Plants need manure to grow. And you also got to ask yourself, how did you get in that situation? Because for every cause, there's an effect. And for every effect, there's a cause. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. When a problem exists, so does a solution. But which one are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the opposition, the fact that you don't want to be there, you don't want to be at the job, you don't like the person, you don't like the situation? I get it. There's a lot of things we don't like, but are we focused on the opposition because there's an equal and opposite? But are we focused on the equal solution? How do you know what you're focusing on? You know how you feel, you know what's happening in your life, you know how you got there. And if you keep pouring life energy into this low and into this situation that you're in, and I don't know, you want to keep complaining, remember what you recognize, you energize, and you give momentum to. So some of us are digging even deeper holes for ourselves because we're keeping the wrong momentum, we're keeping the wrong rhythm in this game of life. We have to learn when to flow and when to be still. We got to stop resisting. We got to stop fighting. We have to stop being so hard on ourselves. And when I say be still, being still does not mean being lazy. Because if you're being lazy and you procrastinate, you need to stop doing that too. Because the lazy cynic is his own worst enemy. And what do I mean by that? It's easier to run a junkyard than it is to become an architect. And that's the junkyard of your mind. So you got to clean things up. You got to smooth some of these lines out, because the main focus is to remain focused. And sometimes to remain focused, you have to be still and know that you are. In Psalms 46:5, that God is in the midst of her. And anytime you see her or him in the Bible, know that it's referring to the masculine and the feminine principle of your mind. That's in the law of gender. I'll get into that video in another point. But Psalms 46:5, that God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. Your emotions is what we're referring to when it says she. God shall help her, and that right early. Right early? What does that mean? Well, the metaphysical breakdown of that means in God's time, in God's rhythm. There it goes again, the law of rhythm. As a matter of fact, the book of Psalms is a whole song. That's the law of rhythm in your face. Let's make sure that we are not out of sight and out of alignment and out of sync with our own rhythm, especially our own circadian rhythm. The laws work 100% of the time. They never fail. If you apply the law to achieve success and you achieve failure, it wasn't the laws, it was just you. You simply failed to do the one thing that you were supposed to do that was necessary for you to obtain the good. If you develop the opposite, then you believed more in the opposite than you were convinced of that. So the law worked. It always has, it always will. It is never changing. The same God today, yesterday, and tomorrow. So here are some keys to keep you in rhythm. Number 1, practice. You got to practice what you practice. Number 2, faith, aka feeling. Faith is feeling, because all things come through you, not to you. No one else can feel what it feels like to feel like you, but you. So you have to kickstart that feeling in the morning when you wake up. Those first 6 seconds are so important. And there's so many tools that we have: meditation, affirmations. Number 3, appreciation, aka gratitude. But I like the word appreciation because appreciate means to increase in value. And I'm trying to increase my value and build up the momentum, because concentration is the game. Keep the rhythm of the game. Subject, you. Until next time, y'all. Peace out.